Hey, my name is Trevor Smith. Welcome to Full Burn, where we kick some tires, light some fires, and interview awesome space and defense founders across the world. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Nutter of Gama Space. So, Andrew, who is Andrew Nutter? And actually, first, where are we?
Hi, everyone. Trevor, thank you very much. We are in Colorado Springs at the 40th Space Symposium, one of the world's greatest gatherings of space people, I guess. Historically military, and now there's all sorts of people from all around the world building some crazy things. And right now, we are in an Audi R8.
Iron Man's car.
So I'm going to try and stay alive and not scream.
Yeah, so that's where we are. Who is Andrew Nutter?
Who is Andrew Nutter?
Yeah.
I am a half French, half Brit, born in Paris, raised in London, traveled around the world, French mother, English father, and I consider myself a man of
talents?
Not many talents, but I'm currently living in Paris, married 2 daughters, and building a space company. And I've done quite a few things in the past across many different industries.
Give us the highlight reel, the 45-second highlight reel.
The 45-second highlight reel. I started wanting to teach, so I taught in California.
What did you teach?
Economics to undergrads out in California. Then I thought I wanted to change the world through the World Bank or some big organization. I peeked my head in and I thought, I can't do this. And then I stumbled into
was
something.
Was it scary or like what?
It was kind of politics and big organizations, and I couldn't see myself doing that. And then I stumbled into something called consulting, which was basically going into all sorts of industries you knew nothing about and having to sound credible very quickly. And I did that across many parts of the world in many different industries, in telecoms, media, oil and gas, all sorts of things in the Middle East and India, across Europe. And then I stumbled into something called venture capital, which is basically having pots of cash and sharing it into promising young founders who want to change the world. And I kind of discovered something I really enjoyed, and that was a world in which everything was possible and you could build big things that could have an impact. And after a while giving advice and giving money, I thought actually I need to build things myself. And that's when I jumped into the insurance industry briefly, then a company called Westwing, which is now a publicly listed company out of Germany. We built an e-commerce mammoth doing home and living online, so selling candles and mirrors.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you why the mirrors bit is important, because now I'm building mirrors in space.
Oh, so, yeah, good correlation there. I like that.
Yeah, so that was challenging. It was a difficult industry, and we scaled the company to 17 geographies. At some point, 1,700 people.
Wow.
Lots of revenues, and learned a lot of things, made a lot of mistakes, and then came out of that, ran a vineyard. This is more than 45 seconds.
No. I was hoping
do you really want me to talk about vineyard?
Yeah. I was hoping. I was going to ask if you didn't bring it up.
Okay. So then I went to run a vineyard in the south of France, and there was no internet when I arrived. The average age was quite old on the team. There was a dog, and that did me a lot of good. I learned how to build things without stressing too much, because you don't control the weather, you don't control a lot of things to make wine. But a beautiful industry, and while I was doing that, I started mentoring lots of companies and angel investing. So I've now made over 100 angel investments in quote-unquote deep tech companies across the world.
Yeah.
Mentored lots of companies in climate tech and space tech, and at some point I just thought, okay, this is great, but I need to build things. There's too many opportunities on the world, on the planet and beyond, and we need to build things, and we need to have an impact. So
yeah,
that brings us to Gama.
So tell me a little bit about Gama, what you guys are doing, what you're trying to achieve, and then we'll jump into maybe the origin story of Gama.
Sounds good. Yeah. Gama is building sails in space, and what that means is very large
sails. Like sailboats.
Like sailboats.
Okay.
In space. The very big versions are giant mirrors called solar sails, and you harvest light from the sun and it bounces off this giant mirror, and that bounce gives it a little push, and you can sail like a sailboat. On Earth with the winds, we use sunlight to propulse ourselves through space. And then we'd also do much smaller versions called drag sails, and those are attached to spacecraft, typically before launch, and allow a spacecraft to come down. It's like a parachute. There's still a little bit of atmosphere where we put most of satellites today, and that allows the satellite to come down quicker and not contribute to creating more debris in space, because space sustainability has become a thing.
So helping deorbit some spacecraft?
Deorbit spacecraft, yeah.
Okay. Now, when you say mirror, this isn't mirror on the wall glass. This is something else.
This is something
It's
else.
got to be lightweight.
It's got to be very light.
Okay.
The force, it's called solar radiation pressure. That force is very small. And so you need something very small and light, and you need a large surface. And what we use is basically very thin plastic. It's about 2.5 microns small, so just a fraction of the width of a human hair. And on top of that is deposited aluminium, just a few atoms, particles of aluminium, and aluminium is reflective, so light bounces off that, and that is what gives the push.
So as I understand it, they kind of start slow,
Yes.
but they can go really fast.
Yeah, so the funny thing about solar sails is there is nothing stopping you from, there's no friction, there's no air, so you can keep on accelerating, even though the acceleration might be in millimeters per second square. We're talking a very small acceleration, but it can keep on accelerating. And if you go closer to the sun, you have a lot more photons per square meter or square foot, and therefore you can accelerate even faster. And so it's all about, if you want to go fast, you need lots of surface to mass ratio. And ideally you need to be as close to the sun as possible. So if you want to go really fast, you dive towards the sun, deploy the sail, and then you can go so fast you could potentially leave our solar system and do some very fun things.
And I've heard some additional ideas about how to power those systems, not just the sun, but maybe pointing big lasers at it to go even faster for long distances.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So this is
so like Andromeda Galaxy, you could.
So this is so this sounds like science fiction, and it kind of is, but there are people working on these concepts today. There was
You're
an
one of them.
initiative.
Yeah.
There was an initiative called Breakthrough Initiatives, and one of those initiatives within that group was something called light sails. We're not talking about solar sails. It's not sunlight. It's light sails. A giant laser has the same effect as a photon bouncing off, and if you can concentrate enough power from lasers onto even a very small reflective surface, you can accelerate to a fraction of the speed of light. So
that's fast.
This car's going fast, but I mean we can.
I mean, we're in a fast car, but that is totally different.
So if you think about Alpha Centauri, which is 4 light years away, and you're going to get 20% the speed of light,
right?
You can get there in 20 years. 4 years for the images to come back. And so in 25 years, you could actually get a photo of our closest sun.
Why don't we just send one off today? We need some pictures.
We need some pictures. There's a bit of a challenge in terms of generating enough power from enough lasers, and today it's quite challenging to gather the let's say the international alignment to create massive lasers to shoot things either from space or from Earth.
Because you don't want to end up like Darth Vader and a Death Star, and this is for science, not for obliterating things.
This would be for science, but it could have what they call dual use. and then so that is something I think that might happen maybe in our lifetimes, maybe a little bit later. There's still a lot of research that needs to be done, but that's something to look forward to.
Wow, 20% C, or the speed of light.
Yes,
I'm learning science stuff.
Okay. C is the speed of light.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the inception of Gama. Was there like a specific day where you were like, hey, me and the team, we're gonna make this happen, we're incorporating, like, what was the inception or seminal moment that sort of triggered everything? Or if there was one.
it was a little bit of a random walk. A very close friend of mine called Thibaut Exier, who started lots of companies, realized that he was passionate about space. He had written a undergraduate thesis on solar sails, and he met another gentleman called Louis, another French chap who had just written a book on solar sails, and he put us all together. I kind of initially got involved to mentor the company, as I was doing with a bunch of other companies at the time, and I just got sucked in. And the first week was like 2 hours, and
You got sucked in.
I got sucked in.
So you didn't like start it. You were just like, hey, I think I could really help.
I mean, it was. I've always been passionate about space. So
But you're a founder. You were one of the founders.
Yeah, completely. So but initially it was not going to be a full-time job for me. This was going to be one of many things I wanted to.
You wanted to stay on the vineyard, sample some wine, watch the solar sails from the comfort of the southern France.
Completely.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I took cosmology classes as a kid. I was passionate about space, and I just never thought it would be possible to start a space company.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly similar to you, but I think that's what's amazing about the times we live in today is that space is accessible to lots of smart people. There's a need for talent across everything, from marketing, from finance, from everything else. And and here we are.
And you guys launched, was it a year and a half, 2 years ago?
Correct, yeah.
Tell me the first.
Yeah, so we thought, okay, to make this work, we need to do something fast and cheap, because
Never heard that before.
Who's gonna pay for solar sails today? We first need to demonstrate a capability, and so we thought, let's give ourselves €2 million. I'm sure we can find smart people who share the vision, who can contribute that, and let's give ourselves 2 years to do that. And we put together a mission called Gama Alpha, which was a 6U CubeSat, so a very small box, deploying 73 square meters. So I don't know what that is in square feet, but it's
150 square? No, probably a little more than 150 square feet.
I mean, it's bigger than the average French Parisian apartment. So
because we all know the average French Parisian apartment. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful example.
I just wanted to calibrate everyone. But a huge surface from a tiny satellite, spin deployed.
So whoa, what does that mean? Spin deployed. I want to hear about that.
So how do you deploy a sail from a little box? You can typically
like
what you imagine. Yeah. So the satellite is about this big. I don't know if people are going to see this, but
like a toaster,
a toaster, big toaster, and you can either have booms that pull it out and deploy a sail, like you would on a ship. It's kind of the sail is tracking some booms. We didn't have time to develop that technology in 2 years, so we thought, okay, how do we make it simpler? For it simpler,
because we didn't meet soon enough.
We had not met at the time, and we thought, well, how do we make really big sails in the future? Booms can go up to a certain size, but beyond a certain size, they become floppy.
Right.
And so, if we want to have huge performance, we need a very large sail, and the best way to do that is to have it spinning, and the centrifugal force with 4 little tip masses at the end of each corner are going to basically create the shape. And if you continue spinning, you can maintain that shape.
Wow.
So spinning through space, and you need to angle it obviously to be able to navigate through space.
Right.
But that was our first demonstration mission. We had some issues with it. We had all sorts of fun things, like parts that didn't arrive on time when they were meant to. We made a few mistakes ourselves, but we managed to assemble it. We managed to put it on a SpaceX launch and launch it. We managed to do all the mission control. The deployment unfortunately failed.
Oh no!
The deployment failed.
Oh, like the spin part?
So something called an actuator, something that was holding it down, did not release.
Like the hold down release mechanism?
Yeah.
Okay.
And but we learned a ton of stuff from doing the mission. We had a lot of stress, a lot of fun, and the deployment would have only lasted because at that altitude it would have been basically a huge parachute.
Right.
And it would have come down very quickly. But the idea is fail fast, try things, moved fast, and then we started working on the next missions.
What's your next mission? What's it look like?
So the next mission was a boom deployed solar sail. We started working on the concept, and then a bunch of people called us and said, "You guys are working on huge deployable structures for deep space. We have a more urgent problem very close to home around something called space sustainability. We have huge amounts of debris in space and more satellites in space, and the risk of collisions is going up. And if you have collisions between two satellites moving at 28,000 kilometers per hour, so that's, I don't know, 5 miles per second, I think, in terms of speed.
It's 17. Oh, because they're going.
Relative. I mean, each one, if they're going head on, it's like 10 miles per second. So the energy in that collision is so high that it creates a cloud of fragments that can then go on and cause other damage.
Start the Kessler syndrome.
Yeah. And today we depend so much on space for everything from climate science to communications to positioning. We depend on space, and the Kessler syndrome is this runaway chain reaction where we cannot get to space anymore. So very important for satellites now to get out of the way quicker, and amongst many other things that are important for space sustainability. But basically the concept is a little parachute that deploys on the satellite at the end of life, increasing the drag of the satellite and accelerating the natural re-entry. And satellites in low Earth orbit burn up when they finished, but typically it used to be over 25 years, and now it needs to be in sub 5 years. So a very economical way, I would think, to bring something down. Like, you don't have to get another satellite to grab it, take it down. It's a drag sail.
It's a drag sail.
Yeah, okay. It's a drag sail. And so we were convinced, and we put the whole team to kind of do a huge sprint on developing a product that's just last week being integrated into a satellite for quite a big mission, launching later this year. So we have the first drag module going up in
So what does success look like? What does success look like for that mission?
The number one success is that it does not deploy too early.
Oh, the sail doesn't come out too early.
Sail does not come out too early, and so you have to build something that's going to be very reliable for a long period of time, and then deploy when it needs to deploy.
How do you tell it when to deploy?
Very good question. So there are different ways to do it, but we've actually found a way to make a module that's completely autonomous. And the autonomy of that is important because it means you have higher reliability. So if you want to use your propulsion unit to deorbit a spacecraft, you need everything else to work. Your solar panels, your power system, your communications, everything, all the other subsystems need to work for your propulsion to point in the right direction and work. And reliability in the space industry, I mean, this is a dirty secret from the space industry, but if you look at the smaller classes of satellites historically, something like 30 to 40% of them failed at some point. Some of them fail on arrival. They're launched from SpaceX, they can't communicate with it, there's a problem.
We've had some few friends that's happened to.
It's a challenge. And so for these spacecraft, if the satellite fails, you still need to be able to deploy. So we have basically a monitoring system to the satellite that checks the health of the satellite. And when there's a problem with the satellite, we start a countdown timer. The operator has some time to try and save the satellite, and if it doesn't, it deploys the sail.
Okay.
The satellite can be tumbling through space, and it will come down and get out of the way. So that is the innovation is basically having something that's completely autonomous and monitoring the health of the satellite.
Interesting. So I have a question.
Yes.
And there's a couple different ways to answer the question. What is an example of a project that required some extreme saving, like something blew up, or you had to do something crazy to save the project, or there was a deal that you needed to close, and you did something like rent a supercar and interview them or whatever, but or you can answer both, up to you.
Okay. Kind of company saving moments, there's been quite a few. I think the fun things you learn in the space industry is you have the concept of clean rooms that are meant to be very clean, and you go through different rooms to make sure that you don't bring any dust in, you're fully covered.
Right.
And you wear these little kind of overshoes. And which is something that the space industry is quite familiar with. You receive a part late, you receive the wrong part that's too big, and you have your satellite bus waiting in the clean room, and you need it to fit in. And you need to do some serious surgery in the clean room.
Brain surgery
to fit something that is not what you initially had in mind into a spacecraft. And a lot of this, you can plan as much as you want, but supply chains in the space industry are challenging, and there are a lot of surprises. So we had to do a few of those things, and everything was within hours of the really kind of last minute backstop moment.
The deadline.
Wow. That had already been pushed back a few times, and you can plan as well as you want, but there are a lot of surprises. And if you've got the right people and the right team, they find a solution. And you hit that wall, and everyone kind of looks at it and thinks, okay, that's it, we're dead. And then you
tell
the team, let's take a breather, go forward, come back, we'll find a solution. And you've got the right people, they find a solution.
Our favorite saying at Atomic 6, when posed with a unique challenge, but what would it take? And we literally have a neon sign on the wall that says, but what would it take?
Yes.
And it forces you to think outside the box. You may not be able to solve it, but at least mentally it forces you to sort of think about the problem from a different perspective.
Completely.
So, a little bit about CDL, Creative Destruction Lab.
Absolutely. CDL.
Yeah, go ahead. CDL,
how I met you. And just for that, it's been valuable to me.
Thank you.
the CDL is the Creative Destruction Lab. It's an international organization that helps companies in their early stages develop through mentorship.
Right.
And what's beautiful about the program is that it's specialized in streams. So there's the space stream, there's the climate stream, there's the AI stream,
materials, cancer.
Absolutely.
There's like 20.
And the concept is, how do you build things that are going to be massive and have a massive impact? And often some of these ideas are coming out of labs, sometimes with teams that have never built companies before.
Right.
And if you get the right mentorship around it, you can accelerate those companies.
Yep.
And what's beautiful about it is this program does not take equity. It does not require fees from the companies. This is purely done on a pro bono basis. And
very unique in that way.
I think it's very unique, and the space stream is pretty incredible in terms of the caliber of the people. And I felt I had imposter syndrome as a mentor in the space stream in the early days, sitting beside some of these industry legends. So
same here.
But it's I think these programs can be, they don't always work for every company and every founder, but sometimes you meet the right mentor and the chemistry happens, and that can really help you.
We have a good spot right here. Hang on.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
That was good. I'm pleased I wasn't sipping my tea.
We had to liven it up a little bit. We're in the car. But yeah, that's how we met, through CDL.
Yeah.
So why do you do CDL? What do you get out of it? Like, they don't pay you. You have to pay your way around the world.
No, completely. So initially my philosophy was, how can I have as much impact across as many things that are valuable and important as possible? And initially I thought mentorship would be a good way to do it. I stumbled into CDL in the climate stream, which is something I'm very passionate about.
You started in the climate stream?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a top energy and climate I'm very passionate about, and hopefully through Gama we might be able to touch some of those topics in the future. And that was it. I just thought, if I can help, I've worked in the industry, I've invested, I've built companies, I've made all the mistakes. I'm sure there's still many mistakes to make, but maybe some of that could be helpful to founders in different industries, and climate initially, and then space, because I think there's an important industry.
It's rewarding for you to help people skip those mistakes.
I think that's the rationale I did to myself, and in the space stream, I mean, I hadn't worked in the space industry before, so it was also a way to learn a huge amount.
Right.
And learning not just from other mentors, but also the startups, because founders are obsessive and they have a big vision, and sometimes you think they're completely crazy, but they help
Sometimes those are the best.
they help you warp your perception, and sometimes you can help them build great companies. So this is how we met.
Well, and thank you for being one of the mentors. You raised your hand and you said, I believe in this crazy guy. And here we are 3 years later.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we'll be in your neck of the woods in 2 weeks.
Yes.
In Marseille.
So France is a beautiful country, and the CDO will be in Marseille. There's going to be obviously great food and wine, sunshine.
James is trying to rent a Ferrari and do another full burn podcast in Ferrari because he hasn't done one of these yet. So
Okay.
shout out to James.
Shout out to James.
All right, 10 full hat time. Have you or anyone you know have a good alien story or sighting, or have you been visited?
Oh my goodness.
Or do you know any aliens?
I like to hang out with people who other people consider aliens. I mean, sufficiently weird and crazy. So the funny personal story is my mother's. Well, mother unfortunately passed away recently, but she believed in spirits and aliens, and so my youth was spent having discussions with imaginary people in rooms.
Sounds like a fun dinner table.
And one night my mother was we were sitting with friends, and she was quite funny, and she was talking about spirits in the room, and all of a sudden there was a huge bolt of lightning just outside. The lights went off.
No way.
We think there was a kind of fireball outside. Everyone screamed, and my mother just continued her story.
All right, that's freaky.
That is my tin.
That is freaky. Wow. Okay. Did she pass on any of those skill sets to you? Are we with anybody right now?
We might be. I mean, I think you need to keep your mind open to some of these things. I'm incredibly rational, so
weird things happen that we can't explain. So, yeah, I mean, just the sheer possibility of the universe and how big it is. Like, you have to think
that there are aliens. There are other forms of intelligence, and I think that it shouldn't be scary. It should be inspiring, and
it should be inspiring. Yeah. Until they come and visit, then maybe it'll be scary. Who knows? Or maybe we just level up.
Yeah, maybe.
So, what technology from science fiction would you like to see today working?
So, I think we are living in a world in which there are some crazy things happening in geopolitics, with AI, with climate topics, and I kind of feel we are already living in the future. So I was at the vast Haven 1.
I ran into you there. Yeah.
I mean, that felt like the future.
Did you do the VR experience?
Did the VR. That felt like the future.
I was grinning the whole time because I was like, wow, this feels real. And then the second thought I had was, how much money could I spend to actually see this? Because it looks insane.
Completely. But
it's so cool.
Today I think the thing that people are kind of imagining is kind of magic and playing with is AI.
Right.
And what I want to see, and I've invested in a few companies doing this, is AI for things that are going to help planets and humanity live better and live healthier and protect the planet. And I think it's happening, and if we steer it in the right direction, it can yield amazing benefits.
Wow. Yeah, the vast experience was just it was super cool. So with space, what do you think? Here's a question.
Yeah.
Without naming a company, maybe you see a lot of pitches. You're a VC, you're an investor. Is there any sort of segment of the space industry that you would consider snake oil? Without naming a company, but like, hey, we saw a pitch deck and this was the tech and seems a little unbelievable.
Use of AI in space. Okay. I think it's a bit of a buzzword, and actually, you don't always need AI in space for a lot of things. I think there's stuff around quantum that's another buzzword, and some of it might be useful for comms and other. But there's you need to be very careful when you're investing, because the crazy people sometimes are the ones who see the future differently, and the really good founders can make that future happen.
Yep.
And so
you can pull it forward.
They can pull it forward, and they can build things that other people don't see. I mean, just to give you a tiny example, which I find today's still quite crazy. everyone thought I was crazy.
That seems
Because
absolutely normal today.
everyone thought no one is ever going to buy a sofa online
Well, now it seems
without
weird
touching it and sitting.
go see the sofa in person. You're just like, I'm just going to order the sofa. Yeah.
Not everyone, but a lot of people
Yeah.
thought I was crazy. So you have to get over that hurdle of, is this crazy, or is this, is there a path to build that future, and is this individual or this team capable of making that future happen?
Right.
And that's a hard job and painful to build a company sometimes, but yeah, you need crazy people, and some of them actually build that future.
I like to call them delusional optimists.
Delusional
optimists.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. So, are you a petrol head, as they say over in Europe?
I like old cars.
Old.
Old.
Sorry,
cars.
it's the old cars.
I like old cars.
I like old cars. Okay, got it. So, how fast have you been in a terrestrial vehicle of any kind?
Oof. Terrestrial vehicle of any type.
So airplanes out the,
Yeah, airplanes on the
just on the
takeoff
ground,
and landing. Yeah.
or the water. I don't know how fast the water. Yeah.
I have been in a pace car on a track at Silverstone.
Oh my God! I want to
And
come to Silverstone.
that was very impressive. I
Was
have
it during-
no idea what speed it was, but it was during a race.
The F1 race?
No, it wasn't an F1. It was an old car race, but the car was, I can't remember what it was, but it was full helmet and
Roll cage. Yeah.
and pinned against the sides of the car during turns. And
You were having too much fun to look at the speed dial.
yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And a Lamborghini once. That was fun on a track.
Okay.
But actually, my favorite is old, an Austin Healey MK3000.
Yeah.
Thing. I'm not really a petrol head, but I appreciate the old engineering and just the beautiful lines of the old cars.
So on that note,
Yes.
blank check. What vehicle would you go buy? An Austin Healey.
And, I mean, I this is going to sound very strange, but I have 8 bicycles, and
You do
I was
like
very
bicycles.
reluctant to buy a car. I had to buy a car for family reason purposes.
Okay.
But I would try not to buy a car.
Oh.
This is probably not the right time to
No,
say
no,
this,
no.
and you're probably going to hit the ejector button right now.
I don't have that Fast and Furious button where they eject the. No, I would never do that to you.
No, but
We're friends.
I think I'd buy like a big family car with like a camper van attachment to the back of it.
This has got to be the most boring response I've ever had.
But wait, it depends what you do with it.
That's true.
Because something with big fat tires that you can deflate and you can just go
Go off-road.
through Iceland, off-road, camp wherever
All
you
right,
want.
now you've got me back.
That
Now
is
you've got me
what
back.
I'm talking about. Just
Okay.
exploration. Similar to Gama, we're exploring. That is my passion. I love exploring, traveling, and seeing new places.
I went to Iceland last year. It was beautiful.
It's nice.
Yeah, we had the deflated tires.
Yeah, very good.
Man. Well, I've had so much fun, Andrew.
It's been fun.
Yeah, we're back at the conference. I put the wrong address in. But
That was great.
thank you for taking a ride with me.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Trevor.
it.
That's been great.
This has
Thank
been
you
Full
very much.
Burn. Thank you.